So I've been living in South Africa for the past 10 months now. Boy, the time has been flying really fast. And I've been sharing my positive experience after living here. There's so many amazing things I love about this country. I think I'm going to be here for a very long time. But it's really important that I be honest with you guys and show you guys not only the good, but also the bad and the ugly. And there is quite a few things that shocked me here that I didn't quite expect. And not all of them are inherently bad, but I want to share with you the truth. So the biggest thing was a shock for me here is nothing here is for free. And it was when I first came here, because when I first came to Johannesburg especially, because that was the biggest shock for me. I mean, Cape Town reminded me of London because it's very international, you know. It wasn't, I didn't really feel like I was in South Africa until I came to Johannesburg. Everyone says the same thing. Johannesburg feels like you're at home. And I was very lost. I was asking people for directions. Where is this? Where is Rosebank? Where is Midrand? Where is Bryanston? And usually when I ask people for directions back home, for example, when I'll go to a mall, I ask someone for directions, security will tell me, hey, you know, take a left, go right, go here, and then go. They sometimes they will walk me to where I want to go. And they ask for nothing. They ask me for no money, no food, no drinks. But here, you ask someone for directions, something so simple like, oh, where's this cafe? And yeah, they'll be very nice in the beginning. They'll take you. They said, oh yeah, sure, brother, I'll take you over there. But then at the end, they ask you for bread. Like out of all things, they ask you for bread. Not even money, bread. And when I first came here, it's like, I just gave it to them because I thought, oh, well, obviously I'm from UK, a first world country, you know, and I'm coming to South Africa is, you know, I'm being a good Samaritan. I'm giving to people. And I thought the security guards didn't have it. Well, of course, the security guards are paid a salary and they do have it. This being greedy, right? And obviously they're taking advantage of me because I'm a foreigner. They know I'm not from here. And it's the reason I'm learning to speak Zulu because I don't want to be seen as an outsider anymore. Because sometimes I can feel like it makes me feel very uncomfortable. So I'm learning, you know, I'm still learning the language. I know a few phrases here and there, but I don't want people taking advantage of me because I'm British. So that's one big culture shock for me is that nothing here is for free. I'm not saying there aren't people here that will do things for you for free. There's probably many people who do that and be very nice and give you things and not expect anything in return. And if you give something, that's even a bonus. Because I like to be very generous in hospital anyway, but like people just expect you to give them something. Bread, out of all things, imagine. The next thing is tipping culture. So when I go to restaurants and I pay for, let's say I spend 680 rand, it's an expectation you're going to round it to next to 700, right? In London, you spend £100 on a nice steak, dinner, that'll be it. You go out, you leave, and that's it. I've been embarrassed on many occasions where, you know, I've been out with friends, with a girl, and I cleared the bill, or I thought I cleared the bill. I paid everything. And the waiter comes again to me, asking me to pay more money. I'm like, bro, I just paid you the whole amount. And he's like, no, he's asking me, oh, brother, can you make this? Can you make this? Another 100 rand, another 200. It's like, okay, yeah, I'll just do it quickly and get out. Because it's, you know, I felt very uncomfortable and I just did it. And for me, you know, it's not necessarily a bad thing to tip, because I think the waiters obviously do try their best to have a really good customer service. And obviously I'm not really paid overtime either. So I like to just round up to the next 700, 800, sometimes it's 1,000, how much I pay. But it's just, sometimes I feel like it shouldn't necessarily be expected of you. It should be something that you just do if you're being generous, if that makes sense. But it's an expectation you're going to tip here. It's a bit different. And you know, it's different. It's not necessarily a bad thing. It's just different. So nothing here is free. There's a tipping culture here, so if you're coming here, expect to pay more than what you spend. Now, this next culture for me is quite disappointing, I'll be honest with you. And it's passive aggression. Now, this is quite disappointing because I'm someone who's quite respectable, quite well-mannered, quite polite when I meet new people. And I like to make sure anytime I meet someone, I leave them with a positive experience, no matter what situation it's in. After be having a rough day, I will always make sure I treat people with respect. But I don't know what it is. Maybe in the more, I don't find this in restaurants. In any kind of environment where they've got to be nice to me for me to keep coming back and come again as a repeat customer, they're always going to be very respectable to you. But I find this in places where they kind of just pay to do their job. They're not paid extra. Places like in Pick and Pay, Checkers, like supermarkets, the VFS, airports, they're not really going to go above and beyond to make sure you feel like you're valued. So what I mean by this, what I mean by passive aggression, there's different levels of it, right? So there's the mild level where it's like they're very standoffish. They're not communicating with you. They sometimes even give you eye contact. They don't greet you. They say, oh, what do you want? All right, cool. Fine, it's over there. Yeah. Like that kind of energy. I find this in places like supermarkets, right? That's on the milder degree. And then there's like the more extreme degree, like when you go to airports and they can be extremely rude. And it's so like passive aggressive, and it makes you annoyed. Like it makes you want to retaliate and argue with them, but you've got to keep your cool. That's one thing I'm working on myself, is not feeding in, because I know they're trying to trigger me, but you got to be careful because, again, I'm a foreigner here. I don't have the same level of rights I do back in London. Right in London, if I get into an issue, I've got the law on my side. Here, I'm a foreigner. The law, for the large part, will not be on my side. So that's another big issue coming here, is that not everyone here is going to be very warm. Not everyone's going to be very open, but there are lots of people who are very open. So I guess the nice people do outweigh the less so nice people, but you are going to meet. And I think it's a very African thing, or even a very Black thing, to just be very, like, not overly polite, not overly cordial. I don't know, that's one thing I've experienced here, which was quite a bit of a culture shock coming from UK, where everyone is obviously quite, or for the large part, everyone's quite nice, everyone's quite open, and makes you feel, in any way you go, supermarkets, restaurants, you feel like you're being respected. The basic level of respect. Here, I can't say the same, unfortunately, for every place I've been in. Now, on a lighter note, another culture shock for me, which some people have asked me, why don't I have a car? I'm 22 years old, why don't I have a car? The reason why is because in London, you don't need a car to get around. You've got public transport, you've got TfL, you've got London Overground, Underground, National Rail, you don't need a car. So I've never really bothered to learn how to drive, to get a car. But here, you need a car. Like, you're not going to get around anywhere without a car. Like, even to go down the road. Like, from my house I'm living in right now, I've got to drive. It's a 2-minute drive from here to my gym. If I walk there, however, it's a 30-minute walk. So there's no way, like, to get from one place to the next, you've got to have a car. Unless you're living in the CBD, where everything's very central, then maybe you can get away with walking. And I say maybe. Even then, you still got to have a car to go around different blocks. But for the large part, you've got to have a car. Now, if you haven't got a license, use Uber or Bolt. I don't like Bolt because the drivers are a bit dodgy and the car's always dirty, but Uber for the large part is the best provider to use. And obviously they're a reputable company. They've been around for a long time. So I always use Uber everywhere I go, but Bolt can be cheaper if you want to save a bit of money on the trips. I spend on average probably 100 to 150 Rand a day on trips, which is like £5 a day, just going from here to someplace else. So trips are very, very affordable here. I know some people here are going to think that's really expensive, but again, I'm comparing everything to London, and that same price I'll spend using the London Underground. And London Underground, you know how it is, people living back home. It's crowded, it's at rush hour, it smells. Like, using Uber is way better. Your own private rides, you get from point A to point B, and that's it. The next shortcoming to SA is the energy problem. Now, I don't know what happens in this country, why there is such a big energy problem, why there's an energy crisis, but load shedding is a massive thing here. And I don't know what this government's doing, why they're using this load shedding thing to improve the energy. I don't know how effective it is, because I know in certain regions they still have load shedding, so I don't see how it's improving anything. There's load shedding here. What load shedding is, for you guys that are new, is where they turn off the power supply for 2 hours every single day almost, and then they switch it back on. So they turn it off for 2 hours and they switch it back on. But one thing, look, South Africans, if you can help me here, one thing I don't understand is if they turn off all the electricity for 2 hours, but then they turn it back on with everyone using it at the same time, then how is that meant to fix the energy problem? Because there's going to be a massive surge. So I don't understand. There's going to be a massive surge of electricity and power, which is going to use more energy. So how is that fixing the problem? For me, I never understood it. But again, like, me coming from UK, it's like I'm replacing the cold weather, I'm replacing the grey skies with load shedding. So it's like you got to kind of pick your battle. I'm replacing one thing which is bad for another bad thing. I think personally, the load shedding, yes, it is annoying, One thing I've got is a UPS device, which is this little power bank. You plug it into your router, and that gives you continuous Wi-Fi when there's no power. So yeah, you're not gonna have your lights on. Yeah, your appliances won't work, but at least you're able to have ongoing Wi-Fi. So if you've got calls throughout the day, at least you can take your calls. Without this, I don't think, if it's not charged and you've got an important meeting, oh boy. Yeah, it's difficult. I've had many times I had to leave my accommodation, go to a cafe in another neighborhood with no load shedding to have my meeting, which is very, very annoying. But for a large part, it's a bit of a nuisance, but I can live around it. All right. And you also have what we call load shedding monitors. So I use ESP. So guys, if you're coming here, make sure to download ESP. It gives you a notification anytime there's load shedding. So we haven't had load shedding for the past 3 weeks, which is amazing, right? But for the large part, load shedding is manageable, but it's a bit of a nuisance. And when we have power cuts, that's when there's a problem. I had a power cut for the whole day. All my food in my fridge went bad. I literally just went and did a grocery shopping, came back, all my food was gone off. But like I mentioned before, you're replacing all the bad vibes, grey skies, depressed people for energy problems. I much rather pick the energy problems, if I'm honest with you. Now, the next culture shock for me is quite interesting because you guys all heard black man timing. South Africa runs on African timing. Okay, now this is okay if you are, maybe it's a Friday night, Saturday night, you've got nothing to do, you've got no plans that day. It's cool. People come, they say, yeah, we'll be there at 7. You, my black brothers, black sisters, you guys know that means 11 p.m. People come and take their sweet time and they operate on their own African time. Now, this is cool when you've got nothing to do. But when it comes to business and getting legislations passed, boy, oh boy, is it a nightmare. I'll give an example. So obviously, I'm applying for a longer term visa so I can stay there long term. I haven't confirmed it yet. I haven't got my results back yet, but I'm looking to get a longer term visa so I can stay there long term. Now, usually a visa application to start the process should take around 2 to 3 weeks at most. That's only to start the application, not to actually process and wait for the results, just to start the application. Here, I've waited 3 months to even start the application, right? That's what I mean by African timing. Another example. So remember I said before, load shedding is an issue. My complex, I'm spending a lot of money on rent comparatively to everyone else. I'm meant to have backup power. I'm meant to have solar panels. They said they'll have solar panels when I moved in November. To this day, I've still not got any solar panels. They said, oh, we'll have it by January. January's come and went. They said, okay, but push to February. February's gone. March come and gone. Still no solar panels. Everything operates in African time in here. Another example, they said there'll be a digital nomad visa. So a lot of you guys always watch my content want to come and move to South Africa. The nomad visa, they started talking about 2 years ago. They still haven't got the digital nomad visa. And one thing I'll say is you just got to be prepared, especially when it comes to things like, if you get into trouble here and you want to have, maybe get your lawyers involved. Oh boy. I just pray you guys don't have to go any ordeals here because people take their sweet time. I can imagine these guys are just sparking on their trees. just having a good time. No, there's no rush here. There's no rush. That's one thing about South Africa. There's no rush whatsoever here, which is a good thing, but it can also be a bad thing. So the next culture shock for me is by far South African women. Let's talk about it. South African women. You're not going to find anywhere in the world, any location, we have as many thick, pretty, curvy, beautiful women all in one place. Like, for me, the above average woman in the UK, this is regular hit. Like, South African women, whatever your type is, you'll find them. Now, it's important that we don't only look at looks. It's with a mistake a lot of guys make. They dive in so hard, they skip all the intrinsic qualities of a woman. And this is what a lot of South African men, it's why they've ruined the dating market, which is a massive culture shock to me. So, most attractive girls that you talk to will expect you, not saying all of them, for one of the girls taps in the comments, oh, no, I'll never do that. But a lot of them do ask you for something. Remember I said nothing here is for free, in exchange for her attention or her validation, which I think is the worst thing you can ever do as a guy, is simping after a woman to get anything from her. You shouldn't have to spend any money to get an attention from a girl. But I see a lot of guys that go to the club. And for me, I don't go to the clubs to get girls like that. I don't go there to chase huns. I go there just to have a good experience. But a lot of guys, they'll go and buy a section for a group of girls, try and chat her up, buy her drinks, buy her this, buy her that. And guess what? At the end of it, he gets nothing. She didn't go home with him. He spent the equivalent of 200, 300, 400 pounds, and he's got nothing from it, right? This is the guy who's got bread, who's got money, right? And it gets even more extreme. A lot of guys here, sugar daddies, they spend. And look, I get where they're coming from. I mean, South African women are very beautiful. You look left, you see Nyash, you look down, you see Nyash, you look right, up, right, down, everywhere. But where it becomes concerning is when guys are now spending, they're going to LV, they're going to Van Cleef, they're going to Cartier, they're spending all this money for a woman that she doesn't even like him like that. And I see a lot of relationships here where, like I was at a gathering the other day, a very quite beautiful woman came in with what looked to be, I thought was her dad, right? The girl looked like she's my age, in the, early 20s. And then the guy looked like he's probably 45. And I'm like, why? When I looked into it, it's because obviously the older you get, generally speaking, more money and more financial resources you have. So I see quite a few, and it's not the only woman I saw, I see quite a few, especially the bad ones, they've got older guys as sugar daddies. And the one thing I don't want you guys, if you're coming from UK, US, wherever, I don't want you guys to become, oh, he's my London sugar daddy or my New York sugar daddy. Like, do not. Please, I understand you're going to see some very attractive women here. Probably the most attractive women you've ever seen in your life. But do not use that. Do not use your wealth. Do not use your money. Do not use everything you work so hard for to try and chase after women. It's the worst thing I've seen people do here. And it's why when everyone else tries to have an interaction with a woman, they find it very difficult without having to get their wallet out and spend on something or go and buy a fancy dinner or go and get her a prize or something. Because these women know they got going on. They know that everyone or lots of men in the country desire them in that way. And as a result, it makes it very difficult to have a very genuine, very pure relationship. But that's in my experience. All right, the final culture for me is drinking culture. Now, for me, I like to have a glass of wine here and there. I enjoy my cocktails. Life's a living. But for me, there's a fine line between enjoy yourself every once in a while, having a good experience, and you just going overboard. And in South Africa, there's a motive, I swear down, there's a motive every day. On working days, right? It could be Tuesday night. Like, who goes clubbing on Tuesday night? But there's people going to Conker, going to Montana, going to Tempo, Tuesday nights. And they've got jobs. They've got 9 to 5s. They're out there, bottles, drinks, tables, puns, 3 a.m. in the morning, intoxicated, drunk. Then 7 a.m. they go. And the thing is, what's so crazy about South Africans is they could actually do it. Like, for me, I cannot. If I've been out, been drinking, which very rarely happens, probably once in a blue moon, that I get proper drunk, I am not going to do anything the next day. I can't do anything. But with South Africans, because they've been doing it for so long, and it's not every South African, but the ones I've been out with once in a while, they've got used to it. So they can go and get lit 3 a.m. in the morning, and they can go to work at 7 a.m. and perform one other job. I don't know how they do it, but they manage to do it. All right. So one thing I would say is, if you're anything like me, and you're very focused on your goals and what you want, it's very easy to get sucked up into parties, alcohol, hedonism. Obviously, weed is legal here. Just be careful not to get yourself too immersed into that, because you can go off the rails here. And the last thing you want is for you to throw all your life down the drain and potentially go back home to where you're from because you chose the wrong kind of people. I've had lots of people come in and out of my life whilst I've been here, and I've chosen not to be around certain groups of people because I know there's not going to be good influences to me, and could, especially with someone who is very susceptible to go down the wrong path, you don't want to be following the wrong people. So guys, these are my culture shocks of living in South Africa over the past nearly 10 months. Now, currently, as of right now, I'm in the process of applying for a longer term visa, so I'm able to stay here. The goal is to stay here for 3 years. I love this country a lot. As you guys know, I've explained the cons, but I definitely do believe the pros outweigh the cons by a long shot. But the visa application process is taking its time, all right? As you guys know, they told me it's going to be here in 1 to 3 months, could be even 6 months, it could be 12 months, it could be 100 months. I don't know, because everything operates with African timing in. So I'll wait and see, guys. If I get that, and I'll stay here longer. If not, I'll reconvene and find my next steps. But hope you enjoyed that video. And as always, I'll catch you guys in the next one.